All right, so this story for both of us actually kind of hits, I guess we could say, close to home, because we both live on the Gulf Coast. Between the two of us, we got over 80 years here on the Gulf Coast. So we're very familiar with the Gulf. Because it's not the Gulf of Mexico, it's not the Gulf of America to us, that's the Gulf. That's where you go, it's the Gulf.
Yeah.
Well, apparently the AP, Associated Press, recently made Donald Trump mad because they said, listen, we're going to call it the Gulf of Mexico. It's an internationally recognized body of water. You can't actually change the name of it unilaterally. So Trump says, well, that's great. Get out of my White House.
Yeah.
You're not invited to the press briefings anymore. And then the AP sued, and that didn't go well, did it?
Well, yeah, the question to me that you really got to get to is the exclusion from being in a certain place, from being on Air Force One or being in the press room, is that really an infringement of First Amendment right? If you have access to the same material, they do. You know, all the notes come out of every press. I mean, you've got transcripts that come out of every press briefing. So they're not in any. I think the judge that said, "Hell no, I'm not going to give you a temporary on this. I'm concerned about it." This is what the judge. I'm concerned about it. Doesn't pass my smell test, but you don't have irreparable harm. That's what he's saying. You don't have irreparable harm. It's not a First Amendment issue because of access, at least from what I see now. And he goes as far as saying, in a temporary restraining order, you have to be able to say that there's a high prospect that the person moving for that injunctive relief is going to succeed. And he says, I'm not even seeing that. Now, he's a Trump appointment, that's important.
And he did mention, he said, look, this seems problematic. He said it seems, what was the other word that he used there?
Well, problematic is strong enough coming from a judge.
Well, problematic and discriminatory.
Yeah.
So, okay, but look, and I agree with that absolutely, and I side with the AP on this, and by the way, so does Newsmax and Fox News and pretty much every other outlet out there, not necessarily because they agree with the AP. This is because they all understand,
it could happen to them.
We're not going to have maybe Republican in 4 years, then what happens to me?
The same thing you and I always talk about. It sounds good when you're the party in charge.
Exactly. Nobody ever looks the 4 years down the road to realize, this could happen to me.
They might succeed. It's not going to be on their argument, though. I think it's a really poor argument. They have good lawyers. This is not a strong argument. They have to beef that argument up. It has to be very clear that this is a vindictive, I am being singled out. It's a due process kind of argument.
Yeah.
It's not due process from the courts, it's due process from the White House.
Well, you also have to take into consideration too, which their argument is not, the fact that not every outlet is allowed there.
Yeah, exactly.
So it automatically can't be a First Amendment because you are not being the only outlet in the country not allowed.
Right. There's thousands of outlets.
We're not there. Thank God. But so, and look, I'm not even a lawyer, but one thing I always like to do is say, listen, politics aside, personal opinions aside, here is my analysis as not a lawyer. As you've said, the argument makes no sense.
No,
all you did was lose your ability to be in an area.
Yeah.
You didn't lose your ability to report. They are not saying that you cannot use certain words. They're saying you have a process of being credentialed to be in here. We are removing those credentials as we have the authority to do.
They have to make a choice.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a choice, okay? For example, some people call the Rio Grande River the Rio Bravo River. That's their choice. It's the same river. You got the Sea of Japan. The Koreans call it the Sea of Korea. I mean, you see this all the time. The Persian Gulf. The Arabs call it the Arabian Gulf. And they have a choice. It's their choice. They can do whatever they want to do. But ultimately, that doesn't entitle them to say, we're going to elbow our way into the room because we have a First Amendment right. It's a bullshit argument.
You don't have a First Amendment right to access.
That's right.
And that alone is probably going to kill this for the AP. And again, I'm glad they stood up and said, we're not going to change. That's great. We need courage, but you don't have a legal argument. Just because you're right doesn't mean you have the legal argument.
Let's say that we can make damages. The damages are what? What are their damages? What are the damages? they have access to the same material, right?
Yep.
So it's not really a damage argument. They could say if there were damages, they could say, well, the conduct of the White House is it's kind of interfering with equal protection issues and due process issues that I should have access. But I don't know where they land with damages even. So I think it's a loser. They can call the Gulf of Tonkin if they want to. It doesn't make any difference. They can call whatever they want. But the White House has the right to say, you can do that, but you know what? I got a lot of seats here, and you don't have one of them.
Well, and again, to all of us down here on the actual Gulf Coast,
It's always going to be Gulf of Mexico.
well, it's the Gulf.
The Gulf.
That's just what it is.
Well, that's true,
So,
yeah.
so I guess all of us were also banned because we just
Right.
call it the Gulf.
I think you're right. I'm trying to think of, yeah, that's generally how I refer to it as the Gulf.
Yeah, so I guess that means we can't go in either, but I'm not about to sue over that.
Fair, thanks.